5 design trends to convert 55 plus shoppers into buyers. Isn't that kind of the whole idea? Jim Chapman is a builder and developer from Atlanta, Georgia, who builds 55 plus communities. He's also the chairman of the 55 plus council, so we're excited to have him here. Lita Dirks is an interior designer and merchandiser out of Denver, Colorado, and she is amazing. And my name is Deryl Patterson. I'm the president of Housing Design Matters, located in Jacksonville, Florida. So with that, I'm going to really skip over this session description or the learning outcomes. All this is online. Oh, and more detailed bios are online, so you're welcome to look up any of these amazing speakers. If you are an architect, you can get credit for this course, so that's awesome. And with that, I'm handing the controls to Jim.
Great. Welcome. I'm better on my feet. So the first thing we're going to talk about is location and why is that important. My forte is doing infill active adult deals. I am not Del Webb. I do not do 1,000+ unit developments. Mine are typically 80 to 180 units, 20 to 65 acres. And I try and do them in highly densely populated suburban areas because typically about 80% of our buyers are moving within a 5 to 10 mile radius within that area. So we're looking for what I would call an infill spot. Location's also important. The reason they're moving within that area is to be close to grandkids, as well as to be close to familiar places where they raise their now adult children. Close to shopping, healthcare, entertainment, and in areas where they feel safe. Security. This is another factor. You could gate or fence your community. Of course, anybody can scale a fence or do what they do. But for our buyers, we think it's incredibly important. We typically gate all of our deals. No matter their size, and then depending on what is around them, we will fence them. Sometimes I use metal fencing that has a black color on it.
Sometimes he uses electric fence and shocks everybody.
And shocks them, of course, to keep them on the reservation.
Sorry.
But most of the time, 5, 6 foot vinyl coated chain link is acceptable. Again, you want something that's maintenance free. I hate using wood because it just deteriorates over time. Age restriction, this is a big debate. Age restriction, about every deal I've done that's 80 plus units, I've age restricted. It's typically easier to get the zoning. There's a zoning advantage to it. With a lot of municipalities, they want to make sure that you are selling to the active adult cohort. So they might mandate through zoning or deed restriction, et cetera, or mandate through zoning that you put it into your covenants and restrictions. I've done all of the above. I've found it to be a great density argument. I want to try and get 4 or 5 units to the acre versus the 2 they're using. And I'll say that I'm doing active adult, and I'll do active adult. 55 and over. I use the 55 and over age restriction, not the 62 and over. 55 and over says as long as at least at any one time of a census, if 80% of your units are occupied by at least one person 55 or older, then those 18 and younger are not allowed to live there. 62 and over, both occupants, if there's more than one occupant, all occupants of the home on a permanent basis have to be 62 or older. But I've used it for density. I also use it as a marketing tool. If I went into one of my communities and told them that I was going to lift my age restriction, they'd pick me up and throw me out on my head. They love their kids and they love their grandkids, but they've been there, done that, and they don't want younger people living there. I've also, and you can do age targeting. You just target by the design of your homes and the design of your product and your community. But I've mostly done age restriction. Clubhouse. This is a must-have for me in any of my good-sized developments that are, say, 80, usually about 80 units is the smallest I want to do, and do a clubhouse. I've never done an active adult community that size or greater where I didn't do a clubhouse. Those are two, my father's an architect, those are two that we've designed and used. The one on the top is 2,500 square feet. The one on the rear, I'm sorry, the one below is 5,000 square feet.
One of the things I like about these two clubhouses is they look like the big giant single family house they're downsizing from. So I think that's a great start and intro into the community.
Yeah, they've got a good human scale
Yeah.
to them. The one I did below that was 5,000, I had a library space in it and a room to watch TV and different things like that. And really, what most people used was one of the big, large gathering rooms, the catering kitchen, the workout area, and then a room for cards. So basically, I'm sorry.
Go to the next slide, sure. There you go.
So most of, yeah, I'm sorry, there's the description of what I just basically told you. But most of those features are critical in that size clubhouse. Daryl, I think this is one you were going to.
Yeah, you want to sort of slide that little clicker over here?
Yep.
Thanks.
There you
And
go.
those of you standing in the back, there are a few seats up front. If you got an empty seat next to you, you want to raise your hand so that people in the back don't have to stand the whole time. I personally have a bad back, so I get that I don't want to stand the whole time. So what are some, we talked about 5,000 square feet and under, but over 5,000 square feet, things are really starting to get a lot more open, a lot more fun. I love, these demo kitchens that are now the big craze, because of course cooking is so big with this buyer. Lita, the picture in the center, those are the little wine lockers.
Yes, and I think that when you get over 5,000 square foot, the community is really, it's a different kind of community, and maybe the desire and the dream of the people that are buying into that larger community is different. They very much are looking more for a lifestyle of more of a country club. So they want a lot of things. They want a lot of entertainment around them, which would be like the true demo kitchen, the virtual golf, like you said, the wine lockers, and lots of maybe spa elements, a program director, but you're looking at a different kind of lifestyle when you're looking at over 5,000 square foot. And some of the things to look for, whether it is over or whether it's under 5,000 square foot, would be the visual impact that you're seeing. And it should be playful, lots of light, and when you think of furnishing one of these clubhouses, whether it is a large one or a small one, the idea is think in terms of square tables versus round. It gives a lot more flexibility, and the life of the clubhouse will be able to grow with the new people that experience it. They can put tables any way they want because squares can go together. Also think of comfortable seating, and seating that's easy to get in and out of, but very, not just comfortable, easy to get in and out of, probably with some arms, because it is easier to sit in. You want them to be able to be movable, but you don't want them really on rollers so that they might sit in it and roll off the deck or whatever.
But notice how playful the colors and how bright and cheerful that one space is. And it doesn't feel old. Nobody wants to, move into a place that feels dated and old. And the amount of natural light, I think, is spectacular in that.
Here's an example of an amenity that we use a lot in our communities. Well, two, community gardens and dog parks. But community gardens, it's an interesting deal. The picture on the right shows a community garden tool. It's a sort of a potting shed, tool shed. That was one of the first ones I did. You can see the raised beds. Those are 6x6 pressure-treated timbers. We try and approximate the height of a chair so that somebody could sit on the side of it and garden and not have to lean over too much. These are, I've had people literally almost fight over the use of these. They're inexpensive to do. The potting shed now, we're in a process with my newest development, several of them, and doing potting sheds that actually have bathrooms in them. Because these typically are not just, they can't be next to everybody's home, right? And then they're not always next to where you have your clubhouse, because I typically like to put my clubhouse right at the entrance of the community so that when you drive in, you get that pop of the clubhouse, that pop of lifestyle. And also it legitimizes, I like to build the clubhouses right at the beginning because it legitimizes your investment in the community.
What about keeping deer out of your?
Yeah, this one's interesting on the bottom right. I don't have a picture of it in its mature fashion now, 5 years later, but we ended up having to come in and create, if you've ever been in Kentucky or seen the black 4-board type horse fence look, we did that around this, but we kind of doubled it up and did it to an 8-foot high, trying to keep deer out of it. This is in Atlanta, Georgia, trying to keep deer out of it. It's interesting, you know, the different residents will complain about the other, about who's not keeping their plot tidy enough. It's rather comical, but it's just been a great, inexpensive amenity.
That's self-policed.
That's self-policed,
That's
as
nice.
most of these communities are self-policed. And I'd highly recommend you do this in your deals.
So one of the big trends in some of the larger communities is to do the idea of a dog park. And since pets are such a biggie for this buyer profile, so in this example, there's a common area that has a common dog wash area as opposed to trying to do that in each and everybody's home. And again, like Jim mentioned, if you're going to do it, you need water for not only the pets, but the residents and perhaps even restrooms. However, Jim,
I hate them.
Jim,
I hate them. They're high maintenance. Dog parks that are big grassy areas are pretty cool. When you get to where you're slimmed down into a small space, I don't find them as practical because of who takes care of them, who cleans them. I've built a lot of ranch condos where no one really kind of has their own backyard and you have to walk your dog on a leash. And the number one complaint through the HOA is dog poop. And people, you know, not cleaning up after their dogs. So I think it's a neat amenity. I personally don't do it in mine.
It you know, really speaks to, you know, how much do you have staff-wise to keep up with the
Right.
maintenance. So.
Yeah, and in my size development, I don't have staff on site every day or an activities director. When you start getting to 400 or 500 units plus, of course, you could probably handle that. Walking trails and sidewalks. Most of our communities have sidewalks at least on one side of the road. I don't really think it's necessary on both, but at least one. And walking trails themselves are the number one, I think when MetLife did their study 3 or 4 years ago, walking trails was the number one amenity on the deal. I typically like to try and make mine a certain kind of a distance, like a quarter mile, so you could somewhat do laps and count it. I typically put benches and dog waste stations, and I like to do them 8 foot wide so that people can pass. And I like to actually pave mine. Just put some GAB base and then 1.5 inches, 2 inches of asphalt binder down, or you could pour a sidewalk if you will, but don't do bark chips or anything that's going to take any maintenance. You really want something that's going to be maintenance free, and the walking trails are just an absolute must-have design feature to your community.
And where they, you know, not just having the trail, but taking the trail through some nice pretty areas, and oftentimes
Absolutely.
if you have wetlands that you can't develop in, you can put a walking trail, sometimes like a raised one, so.
Absolutely. Fences, okay, so, you know, I'd argue 70–80% of my customers have a pet, a dog mostly. And fencing is great in backyards. It can conflict with yard maintenance. You need to make sure that there's a gate and they can get in there. All of my deals, pardon me, have a lawn maintenance overlay on them so that nobody has to do any yard work. It's weed, mow, and blow. And we do pine straw twice a year, and then we'll do color twice a year. But it's very important for pets. I'll do the Kentucky-looking fence on the left that they can put a wire backing on that's not unattractive. We do the metal fencing in the middle, and then I will do some cedar fencing that I can stain, and I actually like to do it for my customers if I can up front. Natural gas. As I said, I build in Atlanta. Natural gas, and I hope I don't offend anybody involved in electricity, but natural gas is really key to my communities. My folks love fireplaces. They love to grill outside. They like to have fireplaces inside and outside. Not everybody really wants to do their own fire. They like to flick the switch. The gas comes on. They love, most of my folks all love to cook with gas. They want the dual fuel range, but they really want the gas to cook food. If I were your consultant and you were looking at doing any kind of community that had, any kind of cold weather or just the active adult community, I'd highly recommend you use natural gas if you can. I think our customers demand it in Atlanta.
So kind of the next part we're going to talk about is the idea of storage. And this is a buyer that has a lot of stuff, and they're really looking for some storage solutions. The buyer may be downsizing so they have fewer rooms, but they still have a lot of stuff. So we're always looking for ways to find storage for this buyer. And believe it or not, the idea of attic storage, they want attic storage because they have those holiday decorations. So how can you do that? Well, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do, this is an older buyer that has perhaps some diminished core strength. First of all, nobody wants to go up that ladder, whether you're a millennial or a 55 plus. So can you do something instead that is a permanent stair that goes up to that storage? And this is an example of one that we've done here just locally at the Next Adventure Show House, where it's an easy, permanent stair with a handrail. It's well lit. There's a window at the bottom of the stairs. You get it to the top of the stairs. There's a landing so that you can still be holding the box and be able to open the door. So really think about that idea of storage in a way that's safe and honoring of your buyer. The closets, right?
I mean, that's what you were saying. This is one of the number one concerns for that 55 plus buyer who is probably leaving a home that they've been living in for many, many years. And it's, how am I going to take what I want and keep it with me because I don't want to get rid of it? And so storage becomes number one. And if you think about, if you can offer them good storage solutions, then that creates an easier lifestyle. And if they have an easier lifestyle, what is it that they want? They're really looking for entertainment. They want to have fun. So it all really is starting with helping them feel organized. And by doing that, and this isn't enormous walk-in closet, but it isn't a small one, but it's well designed and it's well lit. There's lots of light, and also if you look, it's painted a nice, bright, crisp white. There's a place to sit, so that when you're putting on those boots or those red high-heeled shoes, you have a place to sit and be able to balance while you handle those zippers. The other thing I really like in there is that island. So the island is a great place to be able to organize what you're going to wear on that next trip that you're going to be able to go on.
A packing island or
Yes.
for jewelry. If you think about, they're moving out of an older house that perhaps they, when the kids moved out because their closets weren't big enough,
Yeah.
you ask them and they actually have clothes in the secondary bedroom and then the secondary bedroom and then this bedroom over here. So they end up, having one big giant closet would be like an aha moment for them. So
I think that investing money in that kind of an organizational system in a closet is well worth the value that you're going to get out of there. And I think oftentimes I've seen the close of a deal has happened in the closet.
did on your house, right?
Oh, well.
So other things to think about, collectible storage. Maybe they have a collection of something, they want to be able to display it. Or perhaps when they're downsizing, they got rid of their formal dining room and the hutch, but they still have the china, so a place for that. But this example of this wine storage area could just be, is easily for something other than wine. It could be for those collectibles or for a piece of furniture. But I think wine is kind of the rallying call, the rally point for this particular buyer, because It's about them and their time, and it's adult beverage, and it's social, and it's not a juice box, okay? We've moved beyond that. So I think wine just really appeals to, and from an activity standpoint, I hear there's a lot of events around, wine tasting and that. So really love the idea of that.
And the other thing that I think that you can do to really add value to this product would be to find little, I call them nooks and crannies, a place to really offer them another idea. It's simple ideas in tiny little spots, but with 6 inches or 5 inches, even 4 inches of space where they can put more things that they have that they really don't want to get rid of. It's the nook and cranny kind of storage that they're looking for. I love that the picture on the right where you don't have to worry about where am I going to put the mops, and I can't stand the way they're always shoved in a corner somewhere. But you have the organization. Again, you're finding the organization which will help ease their life.
And this is an experienced buyer. They know what they didn't have and that drove them crazy in their last house, so they'll really appreciate that. But make sure if you do that you demonstrate it. Doesn't do any good if,
They can't see it.
if they can't see it. So. And storage can be beautiful. There's a couple of examples that it may look custom, but this is actually getting with your cabinet maker what they can do for you for either the roll-out drawers, which are great. If you think about you have a bad back and you can roll something out as opposed to trying to reach under and get something, that's very friendly for an ailing back. Or in this case, it's a pantry on the left that is all done in cabinets. I'll go back.
No, you know what? I was just thinking about that pantry because we love that pantry because it has a lot of, it looks beautiful. It really almost looks like a piece of furniture. And you might look at it and say, well, I want the big pantry where I can walk in. I can really walk in there and I know I have enough storage. There's so much storage behind this, this system. Here again, I think it's asking the question of some of the manufacturers because they've done some amazing things to really offer storage and offer it in a unique way that actually is going to house much more than it would if you're going to walk into a space. So don't look at this and think there isn't enough storage because behind the doors there's storage upon storage upon storage.
And again, this is an upgrade. This is, do the standard pantry with standard shelves. Don't do wire shelves. Do, smooth, flat surface.
Yeah.
But then this can be the great upgrade.
Yeah, this buyer loves to upgrade. If you don't have a plethora of standardized upgrade options, you're losing out. And another quick thing on the storage up in the attic, don't use 1/2-inch OSB, put 3/4 down, lock it in place, screw it down, don't overlap it where somebody can trip. Don't do it as an afterthought. Do something that'll hold some good weight.
And do more than one little light bulb on a pull chain, right?
Yeah, these are mistakes I've made, and I know to do better now.
So, but I think the thing that's the most fun, number one upgrade is in gourmet kitchens. So kitchens have new meaning for this buyer. So if you think about, they were caring for their family, mealtime was hectic. They maybe had a compressed time to make the meals because they were running around with kid activities. So now all of a sudden, the kitchen is a fun place as opposed to a chore place. So it becomes the heart of the house, the lifestyle triangle. It's where the entertaining happens. And as I say, it's the number one upgrade for buyers.
But you have to think about this when you first get started. I look at that drawing and I think that's the initial start, the dream of what you really want it to look like, what these people are looking for. And if you know up front and if you work with your partners with the example of what you're trying to figure out, how large should my kitchen be? I want the people to be gathering and having family and friend time around it. I want great statement lighting. I want it to be open and I want it to be casual. You want it to be a place that people really want to be. You want the spaces to work, but you've got to plan ahead of time. Don't make it an afterthought. Because if you work with the idea up front and you create the dream up front, then you really can find that it can become a reality.
And if you're building, I'll just go ahead and do this little, there's the reality,
Yeah,
sorry.
the reality.
So if you have been building, primary housing or family housing, the amount of kitchen ratio is going to go up substantially in your houses. So really think about I need to have a bigger kitchen. So, and you think about, these are entertaining kitchens. This is where the party is. So that's a great island for, for putting out food, for gathering, for talking to the cook. But where does all the stuff go? Kitchens still need to be utilitarian. So where does the blender or the toaster or the coffee maker go? Or where do you put the dirty dishes during the party? So I love the idea of what we call the messy kitchen. And it's a kitchen, let's see if I can use the pointer without. So here's your main kitchen area, and right back here is the messy kitchen, particularly right there. That's where the clutter goes. So when you're entertaining, you've got it out of the way. You don't have to like, oh, company's coming over, I gotta like find a place for the coffee maker. No, it's back there. Or, I've just served, so I'm gonna shove the dirty dishes back here so people don't feel like they have to stand there and help you do the dishes. So I love the idea of the messy kitchen. Or as we talked about, the power pantry. Think differently about your pantry. Think about it, it's more than just a place for a box of cereal. Think about, maybe that's on the top shelf is where I put that lobster pot, or shopping for larger items can happen there. So really think about the pantry in a big way.
And you've got to think about this storage and how you really are going to bring that organization into their lives. Because if you're doing that, again, you're bringing value to your product. Just like Deryl is saying, that you have to think for them, because that way you're offering solutions.
So I contend, by the way, that our kitchens have a drinking problem.
Yes.
If you think about it, we start with coffee in the morning, sports drinks after work. We have 3 different kinds of milk because I have lactose intolerant, soy milk, non-fat, maybe chocolate milk. And of course, we have diet soda for her and regular soda for him, beer for watching the football game, maybe wine with dinner and cocktails. What did I mention? Bottled water? Oh, sparkling and flat.
Which one do I want? That's
so
right.
So at the end of the day, where do all those beverages go? And so many people have that second refrigerator in the garage. Yes. In Florida, that's a pretty hot space. So I love the idea of incorporating 2 refrigerators into the kitchen. What? It's crazy, right? I think you'll find as an option that you'll get a lot of people liking that.
And there's nothing wrong with 2 islands either. One for work, one for play. Everybody wants to be in the kitchen. You want everybody with you if you have your family and friends gathering. So why not allow them to participate? The back island right next to the counter and the sink can be your working space, and then people can still join you and participate and have fun and be in that front island. It's a matter of spacing, it's a matter of pre-planning, and it makes the kitchen fun. We keep referring to entertainment and fun and all of these drinks that everybody is doing, but seriously, this buyer, that's what they're looking for, is the joy of this home, this new part of their life and the fun that they're going to have. So you have to think that way too.
So talk to me about all the appliances I'm seeing on this slide on the left.
Oh my gosh. Well, to your point, Jim, when you talked about give them upgrades, allow them to put upgrades in your models so that they can have choices. They may not have everything, but they want to be able to have choices. And you see the amazing.
Start with a wine cooler here.
The wine cooler, or it could be a beer cooler.
That's true.
My house, I ended up having to get a beer cooler.
So this is one of those giant Viking ranges, right?
Right.
Wall
oven, and then you have the warmer.
And the warmer,
Oh my gosh, yes. Let me have a choice. I
And-
want it all.
And then back here in the corner is a little wine area back there. So that's pretty amazing. And then the other example is, look how the cabinets don't stop in what's the kitchen area. The cabinets run all the way down. So again, that's a lot of storage. The cabinets come up to the ceiling and add that extra layer of light. So really ramp up your kitchens.
Plus a lot of natural light.
Yes.
So I guess, because this is an experienced buyer, you'll find they may have, and I'm sure you've lived this. This is our last house. We want to do it right. So this last house mentality is really about this buyer, and because their last home was about raising a family, this house is for them. They're going to get it right this time. So I love the idea of creating some options that allow you to customize their house without being a custom builder. And for me, it starts with the kitchen island. Look at all the different ways and styles that kitchen island can take on. And really looking at it, the first one up here has the lower seating area, so those are going to be chair height seating. Oh, a wheelchair can work at that island height. Of course, the flat island is really popular. The stools aren't quite as high. You'll see a variety of shapes and sizes and colors, but also the raised dishwasher. Sometimes you can wrap that with a 42-inch high bar, or sometimes and drop it back down. When you do the higher bar top, it is a higher stool, so I really like dropping it down to the 36 inches. But customization doesn't have to be big, so let's just take a small space in the center of the house right here. The standard is just bulk storage. Remember, we said this is a buyer that likes storage, but here's just some ideas of what you could do within that space. Maybe it's a second walk-in closet, his closet, because of course she took the other one over.
She took the big one.
Or maybe it's a pet room, and it's a pet room where a place to store the dog's food and the dog bowl so you're not tripping on them. We'll look at some examples of that later, or a place for the dog's bed, or maybe it's that stinky cat pan where that goes. Or a pocket office. A second office is kind of right there off the living area. Maybe it's that beverage center with that second wine refrigerator. Or maybe it's a powder bath with a smaller little wine center, or it's the giant entertaining bar with a wall of wine. So really kind of have fun within a relatively small space within your floor plan, and you'll find that you'll satisfy that need for them to customize within that space.
Yeah, and you didn't add, you didn't change windows or footprint or concrete or.
Okay, maybe there's a little plumbing
It
involved.
may a little plumbing, but it's all pre-planned in that interior space. It's just easy to do.
So when we're thinking
great.
about downsizing, I think one of the really effective tools is the idea of these dual-use rooms. So let's talk about the laundry room.
This is something we talk about a lot, laundry rooms. We don't like to do laundry, but we talk about laundry rooms. Laundry rooms can have more than one use. And in this example right here on the left, where you see a place for the dog, that whole wall is really devoted to nothing but the dog. And the pet is a super important, if you don't remember the pet, the buyer is going to go to the next builder because the pet is very important. But I look in there and I see the laundry room, the pet, they can all live there very comfortably. And there's a Dutch door on the door that enters that room. And if you think about it, that's where you're training that new puppy, or you want to keep the puppy away from guests because you have people there, but you want them to be part of what's going on. Then you have that Dutch door so that you can close off the bottom part and you can still keep them in there. But
Tell me about that desk. What's that desk for?
well, sometimes you may have another use in that laundry room, and instead of for the pet, it might be for you, because that's where maybe you might have your desk, or you want to do wrapping, or you want to have...
Okay, okay, so this is me. Guys, listen carefully. Women, tell me if you think, I'm a working woman. And when I'm ready to retire, if you give me a desk in the laundry room, I will find that demeaning, and I will not buy from you. So let's just move right on. Just saying. Just saying. And I think actually that's a change. That's a change in what's happened between the Eisenhower generation and the boomers. Is a lot more boomer women were working versus the Eisenhower. But talk to me about flex rooms.
Oh, see, I really do agree with her, but we've had this back and forth a lot. I think a flex room can be so many things, and I think what you have to do is demonstrate the idea and the excitement of what these different rooms can be other than a bedroom. When you look here at this slide, and I want you to just take a good look at what you're looking at. This is either his or her office. It has the bookcases, and those are sliding panels that go off on that to hide the whatever you're working on. You've got a quiet place to read. You know, it's great. Now, look at this next slide.
What just happened?
Oh.
Huh?
All of a sudden, now it's the bedroom.
Right, so 360 days a year, it's the office.
That's right.
And guests come over, instead of having to have that third bedroom for 5 days a year, the desk folds back, the bed flops down, the couch is underneath. The stuff, if you look underneath the bed, see the little green thing right there? See how it's on the wall? See how it flops down?
Is that glued?
So no,
No, it really wasn't.
It really,
It really
it's
wasn't.
a balance. It's just
just-
created by. It was created by an engineer.
Or maybe this is, maybe this is where he gets away from her because he's snoring, but we won't go there. So, but I love the idea of barn doors. In this particular case, these barn doors, they have glass in them. They're frosted for privacy, but whether it's a guest room or it's an office, company comes over, I can close the barn doors because I'm a slob in my desk. I can close it off. They don't have to see that, or the guest we can close it off. So it's
Well,
a
they don't
great.
get in the way.
And they don't get in the way.
And
they're-
the light
and they're
light can come
cool.
through.
Yeah,
The light comes through the frosted glass, but it comes through into the hall or into the area of the other area of the house.
So outdoor living is probably the next really big thing to think about with this buyer. And I want you to think differently about outdoor living, not 10 by 12 patios, but really a full extension of the house, and think in terms of really 3 functions, sort of a cooking function, a lounging function around fireplace and TV, and a place to dine. And it's an absolute extension of indoor-outdoor space and how it flows.
I really think about it as rooms. It's an outdoor space, but it's an outdoor room. To really be effective and really to have that indoor-outdoor relationship, it should be considered an outdoor room, or you should think about it that way by coordinating the colors from the inside to the outside, because they are flow-through kind of spaces. And the furnishing styles should be similar so that you realize that it is part of the house. And the finishes, taking a look at the flooring and how the flooring easily goes from inside to outside. Those happen to be the wood tiles, and it works beautifully both inside and outside. But it gives you the
tile
feeling
that looks like wood.
Tile, yes, tile
So-
that looks like wood.
And
Thank you.
it's just
Yeah,
it's
but
beautiful.
make sure they understand, I'm the brilliant builder up here who didn't get the fact that that white L shape on the bottom is actually the tracks of the windows that close. So you're
Close them.
outside looking inside at that dining table.
So here's the pocketing sliding glass doors that he's talking about. So when these doors open up, the flow, and these stack too, so the flow that happens right there is what you're seeing. So yeah, great to. And I love being inside and looking out and seeing the fireplace from the inside. So
It
yeah.
expands space, and it brings the indoors, outdoors in. It's just a wonderful way to live.
So we've already talked about that. We'll just
Oh.
keep moving.
Okay, moving.
So, and outdoor living can come in a variety of shapes and sizes. If you don't have the opportunity to do an L shape, the one on the left is only 10 feet wide, but it still has, 10 by 30 feet, 5 feet long, but it still has those 3 separate functions. But maybe it's in North Carolina. Who doesn't want to be on that deck with the fireplace and the TV overlooking the view? So really think about your outdoor space and really merchandise it. And think about 4 seasons. So if you live up north, which I heard several people are up north, so it's getting dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock. If you get on the clicker, the fire pit that goes off, all of a sudden your buyer is going to go out into the backyard and go, wow, what a cool thing, that fire pit. Or really merchandise your outdoor living and think 4 seasons. And
Well, don't just think of living in the suburbs or living in a single-family home, because a lot of these buyers are looking to move much more urban, and they want to be in high-rises. So those small spaces are still outdoor rooms and outdoor spaces that should be treated like that, because they do want to live there. It offers a whole other room and a whole of extension of their life.
absolutely.
Doesn't matter how small.
Well, if we can make it bigger, we will, but
Well,
we
we
don't
will.
always. And don't forget, outdoor living also includes the front porch. So this might be an opportunity to socialize with the neighbors, particularly if you've just moved in, sitting on the front porch with the glass of wine as a chance to meet your neighbors. Or maybe it's just to spy on your neighbors, kind of check out what's going on. What else you got to do? Let's talk about the bathroom. So what we're seeing is it's all about the shower and creating that spa-like environment in the bathroom. So as I say, it's the shower rules, but here are the rules of the shower. So I want sort of either frameless or spa-like glass, no step going in. If you can use a linear drain, it's beautiful and it's easier. well, it's easier for some, a handheld shower and a rain head shower so that you give them two choices on how they can use that. This particular one has that large continuous seat that runs the whole length, so it can be a place to sit, can be a place to prop up your leg to shave your legs or wash your ankles, or just a place to put stuff. And it's really important to make sure you have lots of both natural and artificial light, and no slip tile and large format tile.
And the other, another kind of bathroom that we're seeing are these wet rooms, the European wet rooms, where the shower head and the tub itself, all of that is behind the glass. All of that gives you that one room that you don't have to worry about everything being wet. It's a new way. We're not seeing it everywhere, but we are seeing it on both coasts. So it's a form of doing a spa kind of bathroom. I'm curious about the pedestal.
The vessel tubs.
I've looked at it, and we've had some conversations, and we are sort of curious to talk to people as to how are they really for this buyer, or are they not? They're for a while when they first came out, they were very, very high. They were hard to step into. But then again, I know Deryl, you had a good comment about that too.
One of the couple of reasons why I like the vessel tub for this particular buyer is one, they're not using the tub as often, and because space is such a premium, if they're downsizing, you get a tub, and then you get this tub deck that makes that tub even bigger.
Very
and
big.
now,
yes.
So now I'm taking up more floor space, but I'm also going to step over that deck or step on that deck. I love the idea of I'm just going to sit on the edge of the tub, swing my legs in, get in, and get out. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, and I'd add to that all of our master bathrooms are showing the largest shower we can, and we are doing these tubs even in $300,000 and $400,000 houses, but they're shown in a bubble as an option.
Yeah.
So how often is that option taken?
That's what
not a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know the real stat, but not a lot. Primarily, people, if they have to make a choice, they choose the shower, and then we always make sure as a standard that we do a tub in the secondary bathroom, either for her or for grandchildren.
That's what we're seeing.
This is an experienced buyer, and a lot of times they realize in their last house they use the tub, like 4 times the first year, once the second year, and then the last 10 years they never used it. So again, they want the big shower and not give up that space. So let's talk a little bit about snoring. Hopefully nobody sleeps next to somebody who is at the megaphone snoring. So what contributes to snoring? It's aging, weight gain, and alcohol use. So, oops.
Beer and wine again.
30% of people over 30 snore, 50% over 50 snore, 60% of men, 40% of women. So it's a lot of snoring going on. So at the end of the day, this buyer, everybody really needs sleep. So how can we address this issue gracefully and honorably? So there's a couple of solutions. Maybe it's the flanking den next to the owner's suite that can become that snore and more room, or maybe it's access from the master bath all the way through to the secondary bedroom that can double as that snore room, since that room most of the time is not occupied. So.
And we mentioned earlier how important the pet is. The pet has really become the new child for the new way of life. And sleeping, bathing, feeding, whatever it is, you've got to try to find little places to help out. And I think one consideration to make is how I can do something that's interesting, that gives a value to having something for the pet, and to get away from an area that who doesn't trip over the dog bowl? That's what I guess I'm trying to say. It's like it's always in the way, and then it's spilling, and the little grains of dog food all around.
Kibble and bits everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. So find little niches, and you'll be able to solve the problem. You also want to tug at the hearts of those of the grandkids, because if you're not thinking about the pet, and if you're not taking a look at grandkids coming over, you need a place for them. You can use the bunk beds. I think are fun. I think double beds in a room will show that they can have more than one child there. Make them active and make them fun. But remember that these rooms they're not for full-time children. These are the kids that come over on occasion. So they shouldn't be too heavily themed, but they should be fun and they should be memorable. This buyer is not always totally retired, and maybe they'll never retire. But they do want to be able to know that they still can work when they want to and where they want to. And they'll make that choice. And it could be by the pool, because that's where I would like to work, but I don't have a pool because I don't live here in Florida. But working from home is important, and the flexibility of rooms that we talked about earlier, that's important in how they're used. But the slide on the left shows a division of space, because he wants his space, she wants her space. I can't use the same computer that my husband uses. So having that dual function and that opportunity to have shared space, but it's valuable work-at-home space. Or the picture right there in the middle is a very small little corner of a house, but it has heavy function. Somebody might be volunteering. They are helping with parties. But they want a place for themselves and to be able to know they can go and work.
Or just checking Facebook.
Just checking
There you
Facebook,
go.
checking their stocks.
There you go.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about lighting. A couple vision stats. So with age, the lens of the eye thickens. And it's gradual, but the first thing you might notice as a result is that your arms get shorter, right? You can't see. Your arms are getting shorter. So actually what it is, the lens of the eye is thicker and it can't focus on things close up. But actually what's happening as well is that thickening of the lens is letting in less light. So typically a 60-year-old needs 6 times as much light as a 20-year-old. So that's kind of one of those things that sort of sneaks up on you. So you really need to think differently about lighting. And for natural lighting, you need to strategically locate all your windows to not just light the room, but to allow borrowed light into adjacent rooms. So particularly coming in from the front door, your vision is to light. There's a left to right read of light here. Walking in the master, there's light. But even in this back internal space, notice that the door is lined up with the window over the sink, and that's a Dutch door with light, so it's even when the door is closed, there's light coming in.
So that's natural light, which is super important. But then there's artificial light too that can't be overlooked. And the lighting should be really layered. It's a matter of thinking of making sure that you have the recessed lights, so you have the overall light. You have ambient light, which is more of your lamps and your lower vision lights, so they're more at human scale. Then they're in kitchens, finding under cabinet lights or over cabinet lighting. All of those become task lights. So all of these different areas of light, but it's a layering of light that makes all of this work. And then don't forget some decorative lighting pendants, because that can add the theming, the excitement of style and trend into the room itself, whether it's in the kitchen or somewhere else. Here again, talking about some artificial lighting that's real important, especially in bathrooms. And just one thing to really remember when it comes to in the bathroom and lighting a bathroom is you look a whole lot better if you can get the lights on the side of the mirror rather than dropping it from above. It's sort of like the principle of, I want to say when you were a kid, but maybe last year, when you held the flashlight under the chin, and you go in and try to scare somebody. Well, that's the same thing, whether it's coming from above or below. It's not flattering. So by putting sconces on either side of the mirror, that's really good. And just think about, ladies in the audience that are putting on makeup, and the older you get, if you're 2 feet away from that mirror, and trying to see what you're doing, it's pretty hard. So don't forget, some magnification can really help in pulling it in closer.
And if that mirror can be lit, you might need
Even
a plug
better.
for it. But there's really some amazing things that you might see today on the show floor regarding this buyer profile and how they're adding light, whether it's the receptacles that have the night lights or the night light on the toilet or lighting underneath that's just really amazing. But Lita did some great lighting. So there's an example of lighting actually opening up a cabinet and seeing lighting inside. Lita did some great lighting in a closet. So that extra layer of lighting, not just the overhead light, but then a separate switch you can turn on lights on the shoes. Are those black shoes or those blue shoes? So who hasn't done that, right?
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
walk out with one black and one blue. I did that once. I don't want to tell you about that. So let's talk a little bit about kind of a livable lifestyle, and are stairs acceptable? Well, they are, but keep in mind that stairs are the #1 reason people go to the emergency room. Not the #1 reason 55 plus buyers go to the emergency room, but people in general far outweighs sports injuries. So we can do stairs, and stairs are acceptable, but never do a straight run stair. Always put a landing in the stair, and you don't have to do it the maximum riser height. You can drop it down and add an extra tread. But stairs are absolutely acceptable for grandkids' bunk rooms. Maybe it's the man cave, the his and her getaway space, which is sometimes important for this buyer when they have a little more togetherness time than they thought about. Or the sports bar, exercise room, or storage. So stairs are acceptable, but they need to be done right. But when it comes to kind of livable lifestyle, we want to talk a little bit about, as this buyer ages, how can we accommodate them with things like grab bars? So I think as a minimum you do the blocking, right?
Yeah, we do blocking in all of our bathrooms. We never show any grab bars, even though they have come up with much more attractive ones. Nobody wants to be reminded walking through a model that they're looking at a home that could be considered for older people. But we block everything as a standard so that they definitely can add it later if they wish. We always try and do a 0-step entry into the home. It's most easily done through the garage. So you would depress the front lip of the garage 1.5 inches, typically with a 2x8, and then you'd slope it up slightly, and then you'd go flat, and then you have a 1/2 inch threshold on a 3-foot wide entry door. And that's the easiest way for someone, if they're ever in a wheelchair, to get into their home through their garage.
And that's the door they come in most often, so it's appropriate.
Exactly. And you can also, if you plan correctly, we do a lot of basements, and we'll frame the basements such that the framing is 1.5 inches, if we're doing hardwoods, 1.5 inches below the garage floor, 3/4 inch decking and 3/4 inch hardwood, and you can roll straight in.
That's great. That's great. And then I know the other thing that we want to think about is interior doors. And I would tell you a minimum of 2.8 doors everywhere. Any door that you walk through, I say a minimum of 2.8. Fair Housing is a 2.10 door, but I know you do 3.0 doors whenever you can.
I default to 3.0 on any door I can do. I put a 3.0 unless it starts to conflict with how the room lives.
But just really make sure that when you do the larger doors that you have room to do it. You have room to do it and do the trim around the door. And the door swing, that you don't have to step out of the toilet room to go into it because the door is so big.
The style and personality, you've got to remember that this buyer is, they don't want their grandmother's house. They are not that, they don't feel that way, they don't live that way. They're looking for today's kind of look. They are aware of what trend is, they are aware of style. They want something classy and sophisticated. They don't want it to look old. They don't want it to look like their grandmother's house. So whether it's in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in a bedroom, keep it light, keep it bright, you don't want anything to look heavy and stuffy. They're gonna walk right out of, if you have merchandised your model to look at all old, you're gonna lose the buyer right away because they understand what trend is. They're following HGTV just like the millennial is. And they know what colors are in, they know the vibrancy and the light that can be their home.
And romance, don't forget romance.
Oh my
they
gosh.
still want to have that romantic bedroom that looks, can't wait to get in there, so.
You need his and her spaces because everybody wants their own time, they want to have their own individuality, their own character come out, and they do need that separation of space. And these are both very sort of larger spaces, they're over garage kind of spaces, but they can be very small spaces, finding some little nooks and crannies in the house again so that they can do whatever they want to there. That's where they can have their hobby or just put their things that are special to them. It doesn't have to be large, but show them that they can find themselves in that home.
And, you know, but at a very minimum, you want his and her vanities. If you can separate the vanities so they don't have to touch in the morning before coffee, just saying. Some people are cranky. His and her closets are a great thing to have if you can do it. And as we mentioned earlier, sort of his and her workspaces within that office. So, and then fireplaces are a big must in your market.
Yeah, fireplaces are huge. I do them as standard. I do fireplaces on my outside porches and inside my homes, and they're all gas, as I've told you before.
And think about fireplaces in a lot of ways. They can be very traditional. They can be contemporary. They can be the linear fireplaces. But think about where the TV goes, and make sure there's not a conflict between TV and fireplace. But I love the outdoor fireplaces. I just think it's a huge part of outdoor living.
And the finishes that will work for this buyer, thinking of easy maintenance. Remember, this person needs storage, they need ease of work, and that way that'll give them more time for all that entertainment and all that drinking of all those beverages. So think of some of the different vinyls and the laminate materials for flooring that they've come a long way. So don't overlook them. We have actually used some of them in some very expensive product up in the Northeast, and it's been beautiful. Of course, the engineered woods, the wood look tiles. And think about, the pets can't scratch this. Your husband isn't going to see the scratches and think that he has to somehow maintain it. In the bathroom, in the tiles, those larger format tiles, they're not only good looking, but what they do is mean there's going to be less grout, which means ease of life. I don't have a lot of grout lines to worry about. And that non-slip finish is very important, and it comes. The tiles are amazing. It's a matter of choices, and so think about the choices that you make. Low maintenance countertops, all of these quartz and the Corians and the quartzites, they take little time to have to. There's no care involved. Whereas a marble or granite.
They're moving out of a house with granite because they realize that granite stains, whether it's oil can get through to the granite, if they haven't properly sealed it. That wine we talked about, they spill wine, leave it overnight, that might stain. Even the pollen off of flowers can stain. So I love these materials that are a lot more low maintenance. And then outside, as Jim mentioned, they do some great yard maintenance. What did you say? You blow and grow and
weed, mow, and blow.
Mow and blow. Okay.
Weed, mow, blow.
And then and weed eat or whatever.
And pine straw and flowers occasionally.
Perfect.
And stuff.
I love that.
Maintenance free.
But what's next? Go beyond that and really think about some of the exterior finishes and actually exterior designs. So one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is thinking about the roof and making sure that you've not created any crickets where leaves might collect in case you've got some overachiever who thinks he's still 30 years old and can get up on that roof to clean off those. Oh, I can do that. And it might be somebody, over 60 with diminished core strength, and on a ladder is never a good thing. So we don't want to do that. That's a big no-no. So, and then, of course, there's some of Jim's beautiful communities, some of the exterior materials that are available today that are low maintenance, whether it's a synthetic millwork or shutters, or the cementitious or vinyl siding or the brick and stone. So low maintenance is point number 25. So with that, okay, quick take notes. Here's the 25 things, and it looks like we have 2 minutes. So if there
are we going to make the slides accessible?
All these slides are available in about a couple of weeks. Can I go? We're going to take pictures. Okay, all right. So the slides are going to be available on the NAHB website, and I think what they do is they link the sound with the images, so you can get it. It usually takes about a couple of weeks, so just keep checking back. So, but if anybody has time for questions, I'll leave that there. There's some microphones in the middle if you want to step up and ask your question. Don't be shy.
What size homes are we talking about in terms of square footage and bedroom, bathroom counts?
That's a great question. Interestingly, I hear a lot of builders tell me about between 1,800 and 2,400 square feet is what they see as the sweet spot. But there's actually some stats that showing that not everybody is moving into a downsizing. Some are staying the same size or actually bigger. But it's the bedroom count that I think is where the biggest difference is, that, you know, we never do more than 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, mine are 1,800 to 2,800 and typically all 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
On your clubhouse,
Yes, sir.
do you maintain ownership of that? Do you sell it to the association? Do you donate to the association? What do you typically do with it?
I never thought of those terms, but it just becomes part of the common area of the association, and they own it.
Yeah, so you basically hand it over to the association?
It just becomes part of the cost of developing the lots,
Yeah.
if you will.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Don't be shy. Well, you guys have been an awesome audience. Thank you. Please enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Oh, and don't forget your evaluations.
Hey, what's up? How are you, buddy? Good to see you. How you doing?